my lords, ladies and gentlemen, hello. Welcome back once again to Japan as we continue on with our Transport Fever 2 Let's Play series using a whole host of Japanese themed mods on a Japanese themed map. Today we start and we're just outside our combined passenger and freight station that serves the town of SEIYO, which we can see in the middle distance there. As we can see, it's starting to get a bit of a skyline with some nice high-rise apartments and the likes being generated by the game as we progress on through the eras and head ever slowly and ever onwards towards the modern era. So previously then, we created a express line of sorts, so as much as we could do given the technological limitations that we face. And we now have an electrified train that runs all the way from Uwajima over to Yawatahama, and it does actually stop at SEIYO, so maybe we'll get lucky and we'll see our new train arrive at some point during this instruction, although that's very unlikely. Now we're at SEIYO today because I did allude to the fact that it is probably a decent idea if we looked to grow SEIYO a little bit more to encourage some passenger generation, given that this station is on our express line and it is one of these stations where the locomotive does pull in. If we can get more people here, then we should, in theory, get more people on the express line, either heading to Uwajima or all the way through to Yawatahama. So that's what we're going to do today, so that's why we're over in this neck of the woods for a change. So let's bring up the user interface. Date December the 7th 1943, so we are ticking on. Financially we're looking very healthy, 2.1 billion in the bank and a cash flow hovering around 50 million. Sometimes it's a little bit higher, sometimes it's a little bit lower, but as long as it's blue and it's in the tens of millions, I'm pretty content with that. So SEIYO itself then, here's the town. We are supplying the food demand. We're meeting that. We set this up many moons ago, and that's serving a purpose. We could perhaps have a small local freight service to handle this, but for now, these road vehicles are doing just fine. The other commodity that SEIYO would like to stimulate some growth is fuel. We are producing fuel, of course. We've got the Douglas DC-4, which is very nice. Yes, we are producing fuel. That's being done over at Uwajima. I don't believe there is any nearer refinery. So we have the one at Uwajima, which obviously we are fully aware of. We have one up at Nomura, which I do believe is a town we've been to previously, or we've looked at it because we were talking about putting it on the Northern Line, or was that a different town? I think it's a different town because the landscape doesn't look too familiar. Yes, we're fairly close to this Northern Line here, which heads up from Mima to Futana and onwards. So we do have a refinery here if we wanted to give it its own dedicated supply. We do have two oil refineries nearby, and we also have a whole host of oil wells in the mountains not too far away as well. Looking at the terrain, we could, now that we have plenty of money, do terraforming to accommodate a freight line and have a cargo freight service that runs this line rather than using road vehicles, and that is always an option. Of course, we could have a station up here by Nomura by the refinery, a line down to the crude oil refinery, and then one down to the oil well, and from there we could have a line that perhaps follows this valley here via a Canmar, and then we're heading down into SEIYO. We could hook it into our freight line here, or maybe up here somewhere where we have a bit of room and freedom, and then the train will just come in and deposit its oil at SEIYO, sorry, the fuel at SEIYO, which would then be obviously delivered on into the town where it's needed the most. I think that's the way we'll go. We'll have a few new lines put in place, so whether we get all this completed in this episode remains to be seen. I'm a little bit pressed for time, unfortunately. I've got about 30 to 40 minutes, and when you take into account editing and cutting out, dead sections of the video, this video might be a bit short, but we'll do as much as we can anyway. So the first thing we're going to want to do is give ourselves a nice flat area to put in a freight station at this oil well here. I think this is the one we would go for, although this one, oh, that's a lot easier. Look at that, that's almost direct. We've got a lot more open landscape, and then we could swing around the top of Nomura, have a pass-through station here, and then the lines would continue on, and as we said previously, down this valley, past the Kanmar, and into our existing network. I think that's what we do. I'm glad I've spotted that. Is there anything behind us that we might want to hook into in the future? Oh, we could run it back down up into Hijikawa. That's an option. Down here, we're quite a distance away from anything else. The reason I was checking is deciding whether we go for a pass-through station or a terminus. But I think we'll go for a pass-through, just in case we do want to run it back through and up into Hijikawa. So, cargo station, we want the maximum length. Standard tracks, yes. Catenary, yes. Number of tracks, we'll start with just the one. We can always manually expand the station later on, of course. We're gonna, unless we can put it a bit further down and still have the active connection. Yes, we can. I thought we were going to have to do some terraforming, but it looks like we're going to get away with this if we put our station just there. And we'll call this the Hijikawa Oil Well, because that's the name of the oil well itself, even though the train station we just put it down, get your words out. Even though the train station that we just put down tried to call itself Nomura. Let's just rename this as well to Hijikawa Oil Well or Oil Fields, something along those lines. There we go. Right, so we've got a bit of a steep drop off here at the end of the station, as we can see. So we can do a bit of terraforming just to deal with that as much as we possibly can. So we'll get the flattening tool. We'll go for a nice big brush size, and we'll just give ourselves a nice runoff platform here before blending it into the surrounding terrain like this. Just so the edge of the station doesn't have quite as a precipitous drop-off, although it is still quite precipitous, as we can see. If we just smooth this out a little bit further, that might be a little better. Just try and push it out as far as we can. It's still dropping off. Do a little bit more. That'll have to do. So now we can start laying the tracks. We don't want to spend all day terraforming, of course. As I said, I am pressed for time. Where are we headed? We're heading that way. I think we'll have it stay relatively flat, actually. If we can keep it straight and true, it's going to do wonders for our train's speed. So we'll do that. We'll go for a faster bridge, 224 miles per hour. And we will have a bridge there. It does look quite pleasant and quite scenic, so no point swapping that out for earthworks. And then we want to, because we need to be heading down towards the oil well anyway, so we do want to have a gradient decrease here. Again, swap out for a high-speed bridge. And I believe that one is 224 maximum. Yes, it is, so that will work perfectly. Nice little viaduct of sorts over the road system there, which is quite pleasant. I like the way that the road just curves around the foot of the bridge. It's almost like we planned it that way. Of course we didn't, we just fluked it. Now we're up at the oil refinery, so we need another station here. I will go for 2 tracks, just in case we have separate lines, one shipping the oil, then another separate line shipping the refined oil. Or whether we could also just have a single line stopping all the stations and waiting to get filled up at each station. But to give ourselves the option to go for either, we will have 2 platforms, even if we end up only using one of them. Right, so we need to take that back just a touch there, because that would have led a very sharp bend, which is not what we want. So we'll whack that in there. That looks fine. And we may as well double track this, because if we are going to do a single line handling all aspects of the production chain, we're going to have multiple trains running, I should imagine. So we'll double track it, and as we approach the station here at Hijikawa, this is where we'll merge the lines together. And if we can get maximum speed, which we certainly can, it's going to make everybody's life a lot better. So up here, we're probably going to want a diamond. We'll have it set back from the station a little, just in case we expand the platforms at any time. This way we have enough room to take an extra track off either side of the station if we need to. So that's what we're doing here. So there's your diamond, all good. Signals I will do later in a hot, in one whole go, rather than doing each section of the track in turn. So the next thing you want to do then is get a road connection over here, and I'd say we'd want our freight station in this area. We'll have several platforms because at some point we might want to bring tools up here to Nomura. The fuel obviously will be handled by this fuel station here, so there's no need to ship any fuel in. But obviously we do need to ship in the raw materials to produce the fuel. Now I want to get into a position where I'm almost certainly guaranteed a road connection when we put in our connection here. I think this should be good enough. So if we have a nice straight section just outside of the main building, and then what we're going to need to do is have a bridge over here, and we're going to have to do this manually because it is a pretend river, for want of a better term. Yeah, it's just going to do that if we do it that way, which is a little bit uncomfortable. So let's just raise this up a little bit, and oh, there we go, I'm going the wrong way. So 3 steps hopefully will be enough, maybe 4. Yep, 4 steps will give us a bridge. Oh, if I actually click the right thing for once. There we go. Don't really mind about the speed because for now we're not actually going to have anything running out here. It's just to generate the link point between the train station and the industry. So we'll do something like that. Continue the bridge onwards. That looks quite nice, actually. And then from this point on, we can just connect in from this side of the bridge down into the road. Perhaps not that steep. We'll have it staggered, so we'll have a little S-bend like this. And that should do just nicely. Just upgrade these roads for them because we're generous. We can't do that little bit because there's a collision, but we can certainly do. It's colliding with these assets, I believe. There we go. Yeah, we'll upgrade these roads for them. So that should give us a working connection. It does not. That is not ideal. I'd have thought that would have been close enough, but clearly it is not. Well, what we can do instead is have a second road come off this side. Do you know what? Oh, there, it was giving us a... Go on, there it is, there it is. Bridge pillar collision. What with... Oh, it'll be with one of these bushes, I should imagine. So if we delete those, like that, we should now be able to get that road in, get rid of those ones as well. Back to the road. Over here. How far can we push it before it loses the bridge? Looks about there. Are you connected now? Yes, there we go. We've got the connection. Perfect. We'll rename this to Nomura Freight Exchange because that's what it may end up being in the future. This needs to be Nomura Fuel Refinery, of course. We don't need a capital E, however. And we also don't need a second U. Or even a first U. There we go. Learn to spell. Right then, so where are we headed? That way. So this should be a reasonably straight run. I don't mean straight as in no curves. I mean straight as in straight forward. So we'll see what we can do here. We are going to have to drop off, of course. There's no two ways around that. So we'll have a nice extended bridge there. And then I think if we head for this side of the food production plant, and look at that, we can have a nice tunnel underneath all of this, which should be quite pleasant. We'll give it a nice modern looking tunnel entrance. Where are we headed? Yep, we're going in the right direction. Emerge from the tunnel now. A bridge there is probably not really necessary, so we'll just change that out for an embankment. And to there. And now we want to bridge over this little bit of river here, which should be fairly easy due to the terrain differential on either side. And indeed it is giving us a bridge straight away. So no faffing, no messing, all good. And then we can just link these two together and this should be reasonably straightforward. The road might get a bit skewiff, but I'm not really fussed by that. We're not using a road, so it's not going to impact us in any way. We'll need a diamond on this side of the station, so we'll do that quickly, and we'll need one just before we get to the freight exchange that we've just set up at Nomura as well. As I said, in the future we might have a full exchange where we also have a road or a truck station to ship in the tools if we ever deliver those, but for now we're going to leave it as it is, and we'll have a diamond just before the bridge over here, and then we are good to go in terms of the production. The last thing you want to do is just run this down into the freight line down here. Very laggy there. That's a problem with these large maps and all these mods, but there you go. Too much slope. Construction not possible. Too much slope. Well, don't slope then. Stay. Ooh, how's that? If we can get a tunnel entrance there and it looks okay, I'm going for that. Oh, I forgot to change the bridge from the invisible bridge. That's annoying. Let's just quickly redo this little stretch here and make sure we actually include a bridge this time. There we go. And we'll double it all up and it's going to go straight down and hook into the freight line just to the south of Akanma. So we're just about to reach the freight line between SEIYO and Mima, and we're having a little bit of a flyover here. This was unintentional, but I made the decision as we got close that we could fly over the top of this and then drop it down on this side and bring it in, because we have a nice run of flat track here where we should be able to bring this down without too many complications. So what we'll do is we'll put two stretches of track here, and this is going to be where our new freight line comes into, and hopefully this should look pretty decent. I mean, it's got a gradient change, of course it has, but that's fine. 67 miles an hour on the radius isn't too bad at all. So I'm happy enough with how that turned out. It wasn't pre-planned until I got down here, like I said, but I think it looks quite nice. And then all we're going to do is first of all just get rid of these two signals just here. And then we're going to bring these tracks in and cross them over. And if we can get full speed on this, that would be fantastic. Let's see if we can. Near enough. There's a small section which is 61 miles per hour, but the rest is fine. There we go. So we just need to do a bit of signal work now on the junction that we just created. So we're having a stopping signal there and there. We want a stopping signal just prior to the junction, and then a clearing signal for the junction just before the entrance of the tunnel. We also want a clearing signal on the new freight line there, and the existing freight line. There goes the express train we were talking about earlier. And there goes a freight train. It's one of the machinery delivery trains. Yes, it is. Good timing there. So what I'll do now is I'll speed the processing up, in post-processing. I'll sort this terrain out and I'll put some signals down. And we'll go back to normal speed once we are all done and dusted. Okay then, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the terrain work that I wanted to do now done. The signals are in place, and I've also done the usual thing of removing the trees what are growing too close to the rail lines by using the asset eraser tool. So now we're ready to set up the production chain, and we'll do that nice and quickly. So we're going to be running from our Hijikawa oil well, and we'll have this black, and then we will stop off at Nomura North. We need to rename that, so we'll do that at some point. At Hijikawa, we do want them to be fully loaded, of course, and they are loading crude oil there. When they get to Nomura, they can take a load if one is available, and we'll have them stop for a minimum of 1 minute. 30 seconds, no, 1 minute. We'll go for 1 minute. We can always decrease that if they're waiting too long. And here we are unloading the crude oil and then loading upon any refined oil that gets produced while we're waiting. And then we're going to head to Nomura Freight Exchange. And here we want to be unloading the refined oil and loading the fuel oil. And again, we'll go 60 seconds for this. And then after hitting Nomura Freight Exchange, we would like you to come and drop off all your delicious fuely goodies here at the cargo line, or the cargo station at SEIYO. And here you are not loading anything, but you will be unloading your fuel. And this line shall be the fuel, oil, freight, or production freight, maybe prod freight. And this is Hijikawa, and this is coming through to SEIYO. There we go. Now, before we can start all this up, we need to give these guys a truck station. We've unlocked the Bristol Freighter, clearly a freight aircraft. We'll have aircraft at some point, but we don't need them right now. 30 meters, and we'll put it just there for the time being. What are you unhappy about? Well, I'm not asking you to stop there. Why has that happened? Why have they opted to do that? You're meant to be using... Oh, my word. Manage the line. No, you're supposed to be stopping here. Is that picked up as a second terminal? That is utterly, utterly bizarre that it's done that. And it's actually populating people on the cargo platform. Did I put the wrong thing down? Oh, truck station, that's right. I am not entirely sure what's happened there, so we're just going to get rid of that. And they can all go back to the bus stop. Right, we'll pretend that never happened, because that was a little bit strange. So what we're going to do here then is put a cargo building on this side of the station. And we'll have a couple of big ones, make it quite grand. And then we'll have a road that hops over and connects in, and the truck station will be on this side of the station, the train station, of course. And that should prevent that from happening again, because that was, I've never ever known the game do that before. But there you go. What a time to be alive. So let's go ahead and put a bridge over here. We'll go for the suspension bridge, unless it's too... Oh, no, that's too low. Too low. That's better. So we'll bridge over here with a connection coming from here down to ground level. Where's our node? There it is. That's a bit steep. Too much slope. Okay, that's... And if how does that look? I think about there looks about right to me. So it's a bit of a double back curve, but that's fine. And then we just want this to connect into there. That can be a nice long run. It would be more efficient to do it a bit straighter, but what the heck. I've never been one for efficiency, especially not on easy mode. And now if we put the truck station in, that should not mess about. No, there goes SEIYO West. And we'll call this SEIYO Freight Yard. Chances are we're going to want some of the cargo buildings here because our trains could end up dropping off quite a lot of fuel depending how long they are, and we don't want to suffer any overspill on these platforms. So we'll give them a couple of buildings to bolster or boost, whichever you want to choose, or you can just mix the two together like I tried to do because that's how English works. Yes, to boost the carry capacity or the storage capacity of this. And then we're going to need, finally, before we can get everything underway, a truck station over here. Where do we want this to go? That's got pretty decent coverage right there. And a quick line from there to there, coloured orange, of course. Load of, yeah, we'll just leave that as the default settings for this. Carrying fuel. And we'll quickly rename this to Fuel Delivery for SEIYO. There we go. Now we can buy some trucks. We have a depot over here. We unlocked several new trucks in the interim, so we'll have a look at these very quickly. Ooh, these are, oh, carry 14. That's what we'll do. The Opel Blitz. Just check it is superior. Yes, it is. It's going to be the Opel Blitz, and we'll go for 6. Fully maintained because we can afford to. Orange colour. Assign them on the line. So the first few runs, or probably the first half a dozen runs, they will be empty, but that's fine. And at this point we should be able to set up the line, and hopefully the train will be clever enough to head here and then head back the way. Let's see if it'll do that. So we've set the line up. Let's purchase the train and test if this is going to be clever. So locomotives, we could in theory, no we couldn't because none of the freight line is electrified, the old freight line, so we're going to have to go with a steam engine. And I'm going to go with the FD because it looks a beast. And for now we'll go with one loco. We could double head it in the future. And in terms of the consist size, so we go 15. That gives us a good rating. We could probably go to 20. Yep, we'll go 20. 50 mile an hour in 74 seconds with a 20 carriage consist. 240 carry capacity is wonderful. And we'll start off, we'll just have the 2 for the time being. Now, hopefully, these will be, like I said, clever enough to figure they can head into SEIYO freight station and turn around to head onto their line. But we shall see. Where's the line? Did I not change the colour of the line? Oh, it's black, of course. Ah, yes, they are clever. Sometimes it can be a bit confused when it's got to like do a double back, but this time it's worked just fine. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we'll end it for today. We won't have a chance to take a train ride on the new loco, and at least it won't be on its new line today, which is unfortunate, but that's what we can do for our cab ride next time around. Instead, I'll just wait for the nearest train. We've got 2 here to choose from. Which do we want, the freight train or the passenger train? Well, the freight train's continuing onwards, so we'll go for the freight train. And we'll have a ride through, and we are fairly close to Uwajima Freight Exchange, so we'll probably go the whole distance. So thank you very much, as always, for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the episode. Hopefully things will get back to some sort of normality soon and we can resume the usual upload schedule, but we'll have to see what happens, because obviously life has the knack of just doing what it wants and messing all your plans up. But there you go. Well, we'll have to take it as it comes. So yes, all that remains for me to say then, ladies and gentlemen, is as always, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.